Here is a very easy method on how to cut a cargo trouser or pant for both boy or girl. It has a front button and a zipper flap. At the back, it has an elastic waistband, two cargo back pockets, and it has a side rope giving it a boutique look, a front cargo pocket, and a knee cargo pocket. Greetings everyone from Chi. Quickly, let's get straight into the cutting and the sewing process of this cargo trouser or pants. You measure your thigh measurement like this, then you measure your hip line measurement to be measured as this. For your crunch depth, you sit on a flat surface and you measure from where your trouser will sit on your waist to the top part of the seat. Next, you measure your full length from your waist to the ground level as shown on this picture. And lastly, the waist measurement. Please support my small channel by giving this video a thumbs up as it helps reach more audience. Thank you so much. Let's get started. For this project, I'll be using 2.5 yards of sample material. And the material comes in by 60 in length. And this material is called plain sample material. That's what I'm using. If you can look for it in those places that I sell main material. So we are going to start by cutting the front part. My thigh measurement is 28, but I'm going to be adding any extra fullness I want at the back. I'll be using the by 60 part of this fabric for the length of the trouser. I will open up the material like this and I will go ahead to measure my thigh measurement, which is 28, but I'm going to be cutting out 29 in case of any cutting error. I'll go ahead to cut this 29 straight down. So this is the cutout. I'll go ahead to place this on fold. I'm going to place my tape 2 inches upward. This 2 inches upward is for the waistband that I'll be adding. With the tape placed there, I'll go ahead to measure my full length, which is 42. Remember, I'm using the by 60 part for the length. So I'm going to be adding 3 inches for fold up to the full length. I'll mark this out and I'll go ahead to cut it out. I'll place my tape 2 inches upward. The 2 inches is for waistband and I'll go ahead to measure and mark out my hip line, which is 8 inches. I will still go ahead to place my tape 2 inches upward and I'm going to mark my crunch depth, which is 9.5 inches. So next I'm going to come in at this point by 1 inch. I'll mark it out. I'll go to the full length. I'll also go in by 1 inch and I'll mark it out. Then you're going to connect this line to the hip line, not to the crunch line, please. You connect this 1 inch to the hip line like so. And I'll also go ahead to connect the 1 inch mark on the full length to the hip line as well. Kindly note that this is not a hip curve, it's just to give the side trouser shape, so make sure you blend this point very well so it does not have the hip curve because this method is a unisex cutting. And I'll go ahead to cut this out. On the top part, I'll measure my waist measurement divided by 4. I will mark it out. Now because of the elastic at the back part, I'll add extra 2 inches for that. I'll measure the total of what I have at the top part and I'm going to mark it out on the crunch line like this. On the crunch depth line, I'll go ahead to measure my thigh measurement divided by 2. I'll mark it out. Then I'll go ahead to connect these 2 points together with a straight line. From your thigh measurement mark, you make a partial curve to this straight line to the waist like this. If you're looking for a guide, you can go up from this point by 1.5 and you make your curve like so. On the full length, I'll mark out 9 inches. You can decide to make the down part of yours bigger, but for this, I use 9 inches. I'll connect it like this and I'll go ahead to cut this out and this will be all for the front part. Next, I'll take out this part that has my chalk marking. I'm going to keep the other side aside. I'll cut out my thigh measurement plus 5 inches, place it on forward and this will be for the back part. I'll take out this rough edge. I will measure and mark out 2 inches from the top. You place the front part starting from the 2 inch mark. And you should also measure another 2 inches from the corner here, like so. So your crunch line is expected to sit 2 inches away from the end of the material and 2 inches away from the up. So I'll just place it like so on the 2 inches mark up and the 2 inches mark at the side. You are going to draw your crunch line, extend it to these 2 inches like so for the back. On your hip line, you place your tape like so and you come out by 1.5 inches. So first, to make a curve touching the 1.5 mark, then you go ahead to connect it to the 2 inches point above like this. From the tip here, you connect to the side waist with a slanted line like this. The same 2 inches you added to the crunch part, you are going to follow the slant of the front trouser and you are adding the 2 inches all the way to the down part. I'll connect the dots together. So go ahead to cut this out. First, you take out this slant. For the side, you are cutting out the exact thing there. Do not add anything. You cut the exact full length. Follow the new crunch curve and you cut it out following the 2 inch mark at the side. Now let's proceed to the sewing aspect. You take the front part and we are going to start by fixing the front zipper flap.
Remember that our band is 2 inches upward. Your flap should stop on your hip line so that it does not bend underneath, you understand?
Next, you sew the front part together starting from this point to your hip line.
So you have gone ahead to sew from this point to my hip line.
Exactly where your stitch stops, you go ahead to clip this very close to the stitch.
Cut out a band 2 inches wide and 9 inches long. You are going to place it on the crunch area like this. Make sure you are not stretching it. You place it like so, and you are just going to go ahead to pin this down. Make sure you are doing this on just a single piece of the crotch area. Then you are going to go ahead to stitch starting from that clip part to the top point. You are doing this on just one part of the crunch area. When you are done sewing, you trim out the excess like this. Then when you trim the excess, you go ahead to clip the lining to follow the clip of this. Clip it to just stop exactly at this. Okay, so you just clip this like so. And the clip would make it easy for you to flip this to the other side.
So when I turn this to the right side, this is what you are going to be having. We have successfully turned in one side of the flap area like this. So what next? I'll go ahead to repeat the same process on the second side of the flap part, and I'm going to iron it down as we proceed. So I'm done with the both side of the flap. So the next thing you are going to do, you are going to bring one part of the flap area out like this. And you're going to take your zipper and you place it very close to the first stitch like this. Then you go ahead to flip your zipper like this and you go ahead to top stitch it straight down. After top stitching, you flip it back again and you top stitch again. I'm done with the top stitching. I'll place this other flap on it, making sure that it is sitting on this very first stitch line. So you arrange it properly and you pin. The next thing to do is to make your flap curve. Now you use your hands to know where your zipper stop. That is where your flap stitch should be. So I'll just go ahead to draw a flap curve, making sure it touches my zipper inside. So I'll go ahead to stitch it down following this curve like this. But before you stitch, make sure that this first flap is pushed inward. You just need to push only the flap inward like so. You push only the flap and you leave the zip down, okay? And you go ahead to stitch following the flap curve. So here I am done stitching the flap curve. This is what it look like, and this is my other flap. It is not stitched together. So I've gone ahead to iron it down. Next, for the front pocket, I went ahead to make a cutout for the front pocket, and this is 12.5 inches long and 9 inches wide. I have two pieces of this for the both pockets. Now on the length, you come down by 5.5 inches, and on the width, you go in by 3.5 inches. Connect with a partial curve as shown and you cut it out. Take another fabric, place it on fold. I'll take the pocket and I'll place it on it like this. Now I'll go ahead to trim exactly what I have at the pocket area and also trim the top part to be at the same level with the pocket. I'll remove the pocket now. Following the pocket curve, I'll measure 2.5 inches, connect my marked outlines together, cut it out, and this will be serving as the pocket facing. I'll notch the top part of the pocket facing so I will not mistake it for the down. I've gone ahead to give a tiny fold to the down part of the pocket facing because I do not want to overlock it. So I'll take the pocket, place it accordingly, and I'll go ahead to sew it up like this. When I'm done sewing, I'll go ahead to clip my stitch like so, turn it to the right side and hem it down. So here I am done ironing this, but I'm looking at this pocket and it feels too wide. So from the corner, I'll go ahead to measure 1 inch and I'm going to trim it out. On the side of the pocket, I'll go in by 1.5 inches at the up. I'll also go in by 1.5 inches at the down. I'll place this on fold on the right side and I'm going to give it a tiny fold following this 1.5 fold. So here I am done with the tiny stitch. On the down part, you're going to go up by 1.5 inches on the both corners, place it on fold and you give it a tiny fold on the right side as well. So here I am done with that. You notice that you have something like this at the corner. Now the idea of this cargo is that these two corners must be sewn together, but before you go ahead to sew it together, you should ensure that you fold in the ends like this and you just go ahead to sew in that fold up like so, okay? Then at the other corner as well, you go ahead to also fold it with a tiny fold like this and you also sew it down. So I've gone ahead to fold in the two edges. Next, you are going to place the two corners together and you top stitch it. And when you are done top stitching it, you have this cargo effect. So this is just the easiest method on how to get a cargo pocket. So I'll just flip this to the wrong side and you go ahead to trim out this stuff underneath, and this will be it. So next, I went ahead to cut a long rope. It is 19 inches long
long and 2.5 inches wide. I'll go ahead to place it on fold, sew the two sides, turn it to the right side.
Iron the seam to be at the center, and I'll go ahead to top stitch it at the both corner.
So now we go back to the pocket. You take the pocket, you place it on the front side like this, making sure it is seated on the side. Next thing you are going to do, you are going to pin it up so that it does not move and it stays put. You are going to push in this fold inward like this, and on this your tiny fold, you are going to trace out where it touches the trouser. You trace it out from the top part of the pocket to the down on this side, and you also push in the fold at the down part as well. You push it in like this and you trace out where it touches the trouser. So next you flip your pocket like this, open up the fold, give it a tiny fold, and you sew on these mark lines. And to sew this, you are going to be sewing from the top part to the down part. When you sew to the down, you are going to stop, okay? Then you go to the other end, you bring out your inner part like this, place it on fold, make sure you are sewing on the line, and please remember to fix in your rope for the downside, and you go ahead to sew from one end to the other. The last step is for you to bring this tiny fold and place it together on this stitch, and you are going to give it a tiny stitch to keep the cargo pocket in shape. We would also do the same thing for the down part so that the cargo pocket can retain its shape, and this is the easiest method to fix any type of cargo pocket. Next, we are going to take the back part from the tip of the crotch part, you place it on fold to meet the other end, and you go ahead to iron it up to get a straight line like this. This line serves as a guide of where your back pocket should start from. I'm using 4.5-inch width as the width of the back cargo pocket. Now to get your cargo pocket, here is the formula to use. You measure the desired width and you add 6 inches to it. This is a constant. Then you go ahead to measure the desired length, and for the length I am using 6.5 inches. Then you go ahead to add 3 inches to the length. This is the formula for getting a cargo pocket. So I'll go ahead to cut this out for the back pocket. So on the width of the pocket, you place it on fold, and on the folded part you are going to measure 1.5 inches at the up and at the down, and you are going to go ahead to sew this straight down, and this will be serving as the center fancy effect. I'm going to iron this up later, but before then, at the ending part you go in by 1.5 inches at the top and at the down. I will mark out the same thing at the other corner. I'll place it on fold on that 1.5-inch mark, and I'll give it a tiny stitch on the right side. So I've done that to the both side. So next I'll go ahead to open up this my center fancy effect to lay flat, and I'm going to just top stitch it to keep it down. So I'll go ahead to measure 1.5 from the up at the both corner, and I'm going to use this to fold in the top part of the pocket. So yeah, I have folded in the top part. Then I'll go ahead to measure 1.5 inches at the down part of the pocket as well, and on this 1.5 inches I'll place it on fold, and I'll give it a top stitch at the right part. So when you are done with this, you'd arrive at this same point here. Then you follow the same process I use in making the first cargo pocket, and you'd arrive at this cargo look. Take the back part of the trouser. From the back center, you measure from the top 3 inches and you mark it straight down. That's where your back pocket should start from. From this iron fold, you place your pocket. Remember that you are marking the corners after you have pushed in this 1.5 fold. You place it on fold, and you go ahead to mark all around the corners of the tiny fold of the pocket. Remember that you are stitching this pocket on this tiny fold, and like I said, you sew from the top part to the end and you stop. You flip the down part like this. You place the 1.5 part on fold, following the line. You go ahead, sew to the end, then you stop. When you stop, you sew the other end. Make sure you are sewing on the line, and make sure you sew this one after the other. So when you are done, you get the cargo effect, and to keep it in shape, you give it a tiny top stitch at the both corners. So I went ahead to cut out the pocket cover. It's 3.5 inches long and 5.5 inches wide. I have two pieces of this. I'll place it together, sew it all like this, turn it to the right side, and I'm going to give this a tiny top stitch all around like this. So I'll go ahead to fix the pocket cover 1 inches above the pocket. After I top stitch, I'll flip it to the down part, and I'm going to top stitch the top of the pocket like this. Your pocket cover should be able to cover this stitch of your pocket. So I'll go ahead to join the back centers together and fix my other back pocket. So I've gone ahead to fix the knee pocket using the same formula that I provided earlier. So I'll advise you fix yours using the formula
You can fix as many pockets as you want. So I'll go ahead to join the sides. Remember to keep this rope inside. So after I have joined it, I'll take this rope and I'm going to open this back pocket a bit, loosen it at the down, and I'll fix my rope and I'll close it, and that will be all for the rope. So you can go ahead to close the center, and to avoid shortage, you sew from one side to the other. So you measure your waist measurement. What I have here is 17, on fold is 34. I'll cut a band that is 5 inches longer than my desired length. So this is the band, and the width of this band is 5.5 inches. So I'll go ahead to open up the zipper. Make sure your flap is faced this way so that you do not end up closing your zip. You open up the zipper, you'll be sewing from the wrong part. Then before you start sewing, you make a fold backward like this. Remember, you are sewing from the wrong side first, so you sew it all around. When you get to the end as well, you make that the same fold and you back stitch. So when you are done with this stitch, you place out the waistband like this and you arrange this following the side seam. You just mark it out accordingly on the sides of the waistband. Next, you get your elastic. I'm using a 2 inches wide elastic, and you should be able to use an elastic that is able to stretch from one end of the waistband to the other end of the waistband. This width is able to stretch, so I would go ahead to cut this out, and this would be the length of the elastic I'm using at the back. So next, I'll open up the waistband and I'm going to be stitching this elastic on the side I marked on the waistband. Make sure that you are sewing from the down part of the short, okay, not from the upper part of the waistband. So I'll also sew the other corners on the other part I mark like this. So you should make sure you have an elastic that can stretch out all the back fabric like this. When you are done with that, you take this to your ironing table and you iron down this fold at the front part. So while I was ironing, after I ironed that band, I also ironed 0.5 inches on the upper part of the band. Do this to make the finishing very easy for you. So I'll open the zip, take this to my sewing machine. So you go ahead to place this on fold, and you also place the down part on fold. You sew from the top part to the down and you flip this. Now to sew this very well, you arrange properly and you sew to the side and you stop. All right, then you start from the other end of the band. This is to ensure that your front flap point is very neat. Then you are going to start sewing from the other end. Make sure you are covering your first stitch line and you sew all the way to the back. Please, when you get to the back part that has the elastic on it, do well to stretch your elastic very well so that you do not have any squeezed fabric there. So you go ahead to sew this to the end. So when you are done, you flip this to the back. Remember this point where you stitch the elastic down. You just move the excess fabric to the side, and you are going to follow that same stitch line to hold the elastic to the back and the front waistband. That's the essence of this stitch. Then you repeat the same thing on the second side. And this is what it's going to be looking at like at this point. So the next thing to do, you're going to take this back to your sewing machine, the elastic point. You are going to stretch this and you are sewing on the elastic. All right, so you stretch this and you sew to the end. Then you are going to go ahead to do a second stitch on the elastic. Remember to stretch this so you do not have any folds on the elastic, and you sew this straight down. So this is what it's going to be looking like. So next, I'll take a fabric, I'll mark out 1.5 at the top and at the down. I'm going to be cutting this out, and I'll be cutting 2 pieces of this. We are using this as the belt band. You fold this in like this, then you fold the other end in, then you bring the both ends together, and you are going to be top stitching at the tip. All right, so I'll arrange this very well all the way to the down, and I'll top stitch this straight down, and I will do this for the second one. I'll take the short, I'll pin it up, and I'm going to be marking 4 inches away from the center, and this is where the band is going to be sitting. So on that mark point, you are going to place the band on the top part and you back stitch it like this. Then when you are done, you trim out the excess like so, and you flip this to the down part. Make sure that you place it very well and you get the desired length. Cut out the excess that you have, arrange it very well, and you place the down part on full like this, and you go ahead to sew this. Make sure you back stitch this very neatly. Then I'll go ahead to repeat the same process for the second belt band. So I went ahead to make my buttonhole using my manual machine. Check the link in the description box on how you can use your manual machine to make your buttonhole neatly. If you're making this short for a guy, I would advise you use a single button.